Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mark Parham podcast. I'm Mark Parham. You can follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/Mark Parham underscore MarkParham is in Mary underscore. And then, again, if you're listening to this, you can also follow me on Spotify and just, you know, you can listen to this podcast wherever on all major podcasting, platforms. But anyway, I wanted to talk about two people, James O'Keefe and Kamala Harris. And then, the first person I'm going to talk about is Vice President Kamala Harris. Um, I keep on hearing, her name being floated around. People keep on saying, well, if something happens to Biden or he's too old, maybe Kamala Harris can, become president. And I think that would be a huge, huge disaster. Um, you know, Again, people don't care for Biden. I mean, if you look at the economy is in the dumps, in my opinion. The numbers prove it. We have crime in the cities. We have all this stuff that's happening under Biden. But could you imagine if, Kamala Harris were to become the president of the United States? Like, she's somebody who you can hardly get her to come to the border. So, can you imagine, someone like Kamala Harris, making decisions about the future of, this country, America? I think everything would I think America would be in dire straits. If you look at, what she's doing, you see her, she goes up on TV, she does interviews, and she's always laughing and giggling, and it'll be important questions about immigration and crime and, a lot of stuff where most people would come on there and actually have serious answers. It's, she finds things funny. And it's almost like this whole thing of, well, people are going to reelect us anyway, so we really don't have to do anything for the American people. And I looked at an interview where they were, talking about immigration, where you have folks coming across this border left and right, and you have some people in Texas. They were complaining about, we can't just have people come over here. We don't know who these folks are. And Kamala's sitting up there when she's asked a question about the border and immigration. She's just laughing. And so it shows, she really doesn't care. She's in it for power, just like a lot of other politicians, but she's done a horrible job so far. And, the Democrats keep on propping her up as, some great leader, and, this will be the female version of Obama, the whole, this is a black person thing. And I think people aren't going for it. And there's other black people that are tired of her too. I know I am. She's, the Democrats can't keep on pulling this. Well, we have somebody black in in a high in a in an important position, so you have to go out and vote for him. And they did that with Obama. They did that whole, well, this would be the first black president, and so you have to go out and support him. And again, a lot of folks went out and supported Barack Obama, but I don't think that's necessarily going to happen with Kamala. I think that just telling black folks to go out and vote for her because she's quote unquote black is not going to work. I think that black voters are waking up. They're going on the internet. You have a lot of young black conservative voters who are, seeing through the smokescreen. The only time you see, Kamala out and about and, in the black community is when she's doing her, soul sister act of, she's with the marching band and she's wearing Converse and boots and she's trying to relate to normal people when, she's not a normal person. And I think that people are seeing through that whole facade. And I'm glad that a lot of younger people are seeing through that, whole act of, I'm the soul sister and, vote for me because I'm cool, I'm hip, I know what's going on in the inner city. I mean, people are seeing right through that. And I think that, she Biden picked her for, color. I think Biden saw somebody when he was, during the debate that they had, and they were going back and forth on racism, and Biden said, well, you know what, I'm going to pick her to get the black vote. That's the main reason. I mean, again, she has experience of I think she was the attorney general in California, if I'm not mistaken, and she prosecuted crimes. Some people said she was very tough on crimes and stuff like that. Maybe she was, maybe she wasn't, but I've seen stories where she's been tough on crime. So again, maybe that's one thing that that she's actually done to be tough on crimes. I mean, if you look at what's going on in California right now, I mean, folks are going to jail and then being let out like nobody's business. Same thing what's happening in New York. So again, let's just say, we give her the whole tough on crime thing. I still don't think that she would be a really good leader for the United States. And these California Democrats, like Gavin Newsom, and Gavin's even running for president. And I think some of the California Democrats are just going to get in there and push the old Hollywood agenda. Tell you what's up is down and what's down is up. And like I said before, I don't think that's going to work. Like I said about the whole, vote for me, I'm black thing. I don't think the old tricks that these politicians are playing, I don't think they're going to work nowadays. We have the internet and people are just, they're using their common sense. I mean, if you look at places like California, even New York City, the whole, oh, we need diversity and all this stuff, it's not working. These are two places where, I mean, you look at it, you have crime, you have all of these things that are happening. And the Democrats are the one, remember they came in with the whole, well, we're going to bring people together thing, and it's not happening. I mean, they were acting like Kamala was going to unite everybody and everybody was going to be on the same page. And right now, America's more divided than ever, at least, what I see on TV and when I'm looking at the news. And, how can you bring a country together when we're not looking out for America first? And people got on Trump about that, having an America first agenda. But with Kamala and Biden in office, I don't even see a America agenda at all. It's blacks, whites, Asians. People are tired of what's going on. I mean, with the border situation, they almost act like people don't have two eyes. I've seen countless videos of politicians going down there and saying, well, this is a problem. Look what I'm showing you guys. And they still don't care. It's almost like it's almost like it's planned chaos. You would think, some of these Democrats are sitting back saying, how can we just, let this stuff happen? Because anybody with two eyes, especially Kamala, you can go on Twitter. You can see that folks are just coming over. We don't know if these people are criminals. We don't know if these folks are, educated or if they would be a good fit for America. But, Kamala just acts like everything's okay. And I think that it's going to backfire because, some of these Latino voters, some of these voters don't support the Democrats. And so I think the game plan is, let's get a bunch of folks to come across the border and they'll vote for the Democrats. And I think that the Democrats are going to be in for a wake-up call because it's the old narratives aren't working anymore. Let's bring in a bunch of minorities and they're going to vote for Democrats. I mean, a lot of minorities, again, they're like anybody else, and I'm one of them. They want safety, they want security, they want the same stuff that any person who's white or any other race would want. And, the Democrats using this whole race narrative, it's not going to work. And, someone like Kamala Harris supported Gavin Newsom. And we see how Gavin Newsom is a total disaster with California. He's somebody that, I looked at him on TV and he was talking about guns and stuff like that. And you see this guy walking with, it looked like 3 armed security folks. If guns are so bad, then, why do these rich liberals use private security? The private security aren't walking around with super soakers. No, they're walking around with 9mm handguns, and they're using those handguns to protect, important people. And it's insane to me that, they can get all the protection in the world, but you can't. If you're a law-abiding citizen, there's something wrong with you having a firearm to protect your family, but it's okay, to protect their property and their family. It's that hypocrisy. And I think she's one of the folks who, so I think she's anti-gun, if I'm not mistaken. So, you get someone like Kamala in place, that, what is it, the Second Amendment, she's somebody who's going to do all she can to, overturn certain things with, overturn certain gun laws and, make it rough for folks to own a firearm, who have never committed a crime, never, committed a felony or anything like that. She's going to almost treat law-abiding citizens like the criminals. We see how well that's worked in California. I mean, you have, I looked at, what is it, on TV, they had some of the smash and grab robberies, they call them, and folks go into a shop and they're just smashing things around, and the store owners are at the mercy of the criminals. And if some of these folks had firearms and believed in the Second Amendment, these stores wouldn't be robbed. You wouldn't see this level of violence and crime. But again, folks like Kamala Harris believe, no one should have a gun, and guns are so dangerous, and people with guns are evil. And it's just that whole, it's one of the reasons why I left the Democrat Party. It used to halfway be the party of, common sense. And now it's just like it's moved so far to the left that, it's things don't make sense. And you can't even protect yourself in a high crime area, even if you're a law abiding citizen. Like, how backward is that? And so, your gun, people having the right to own a gun. I mean, you get a lady like that in place. I mean, you might as well, we're going to get back to days where we have to use sticks and stones, with someone like Kamala in place. She's definitely going to go after guns. I mean, you don't have to even think about that. That's going to probably happen day one. The gun, I think it's the Mothers Against Guns, something like that. I mean, they're going to be in the Oval Office probably day one if Kamala Harris gets elected. So that's what'll happen if, you elect someone like this, even though people get caught up in the color and diversity stuff and she's a woman, but that's what's going to happen to gun owners. Gun owners are going to be treated like scum. And not only just gun owners, but folks who are, people who are pro-life. People who are pro-life are going to be treated like, like scum. I mean, the liberals out of California think that, it's okay for people to have abortions. I was just looking at some mess with Gavin Newsom, and he didn't want to do business. I think it was with Walgreens or something like that, because he said, well, they're not handing out, I think it was abortion pills or something like that. And Kamala, you're going to get the same thing. You're going to get somebody she's not pro-life. I mean, these folks look at people who are pro-life and people who are Christians as the enemy. I mean, I even looked at one news channel, I think it was CNN, where they were talking about, Christians, and, it's a bad thing for people to believe so much in Christianity because these people are forcing different laws and, all this crazy crazy stuff they talk about. But you notice, once we start getting away from the Bible, look what's happened to America. Look what's happened to the black community. Look what's happened to schools, getting away from the Bible. And, the Bible talking about, treating your neighbor fairly and, just different principles. We've gotten away from all that stuff, and look what's happened. Look what's been the result. You're seeing high crime. You're seeing folks just having out-of-wedlock births. You have some people where they're hearing messages about, we don't need a mother and a father in a family. That's where we're at right now. And like I said, anybody who needs to see, what's going on, like I said, turn on the news, go to your major cities. You just see, what happens when, we start getting away from the Bible and, we start just getting in the weeds about, regular things, things that used to be regular. So, I just see more of the same. I actually see a Joe Biden I see a Joe Biden administration on steroids. If you get someone like Kamala Harris, I mean, you thought Joe Biden was something. Wait till you get this lady in. And again, you'll have people at the polls where they'll sit up and, we are voting for the first woman and this and that. If we're just going to vote for people, on just race and color, then we'll never get any good leadership in this country. My whole, thing is, for persons white, black, Asian, whatever they are they a good leader or not? And if they're not a good leader, I'm not going to vote for you just because of the color of your skin. We keep on doing that, we're just going to get anybody. And I think that's what's happening in America right now. I also want to talk about, James O'Keefe. He's got a new media company that he's setting up, and I'm happy. He's a real American journalist. I don't care what anybody says. I know they get him on TV and try to make him seem like he's some sneaky, creepy, journalist who's trying to catch people off guard. But he's one of the few people, he's out there exposing the truth. And again, you might not agree with how he's doing that, but he's doing a lot for America as far as, exposing some of these evil and corrupt corporations and people. And I remember him from back in the days. I think it was during the Obama administration where he brought down Acorn. And, again, the media was trying to say Acorn is a organization that does good and it's, helps out inner city community and folks who are poor and all this other stuff. And he went in there. I think he came dressed as a pimp or something like that. And he brought down a whole organization. He was able to expose them. And when he exposed them, I remember, the major outlets, MSNBC, CNN, were trying to act like, it wasn't really a big story and all this other stuff. And then it got to a point where it's just like you couldn't sit up and put this story, and hide it. You couldn't hide the story anymore. You had to talk about it. And, once the major networks started, picking up the Acorn story, it destroyed the organization. I'm glad it did. Because, some of the videos, if you look at some of the old videos of some of the folks who are, at those Acorn offices, this corruption to the core. And so we need people like that who are just fearless, who go out there and are not afraid to express their point and their opinion and to expose evil. And Andrew Breitbart was one of those folks. Andrew Breitbart, who did Breitbart.com, he was one of those people. And so I can see how, I think Andrew Breitbart put him, sort of gave him his start, but I can see why. Andrew Breitbart was one of those folks that he was showing people the power of independent media, where you can just pick up a camera, go to a location or go to where the action's at and actually report on a story. You don't need CNN. You don't need MSNBC. Hell, you don't even need Fox News. Like if there's something happening in your community or there's something you see corruption, that you actually have the power to make change. And Andrew Breitbart was another person that embodied that. Same thing with James O'Keefe. And it's very sad how the situation with Pfizer, when he exposed what was going on with Pfizer and how, folks were acting like it was a non-story. I think some people even got their videos. I think the video even got I think someone took it down or something like that, but he tried to put the video up and it was going viral. It kept on going viral. And it got to the point where, you had certain organizations and companies and big tech tried to censor that video. And people like James O'Keefe, you can't censor him. And it's not just James O'Keefe. Folks who are listening to this podcast, you cannot be censored. We're in a time where you have Rumble, you have so many different alternative platforms. And so now the playing field is getting even. Before, liberals could take you off of Facebook, take you off of Twitter and these companies. But now one thing I like seeing right now is this revolution where you're having, people who are conservative create their own media companies and create their own websites and social media platforms. And so now, even if they do shut you down on, YouTube and all of the sort of left-leaning platforms, now you can put your content out on a Getter, or you can put your content out on, a Rumble. There's so many different options now. And if you remember a few years ago or a decade ago, it wasn't like that. Like if you put your stuff out on YouTube and they took your video down, nobody would see it. And so this environment's perfect for James O'Keefe. He's really going to go on to do, I think, great things. And what went on with Project Veritas, how they sat up and, they might not say it, but I think it was the Pfizer story, but Project Veritas really just kicked him to the side. Like, oh, well, we don't need him. We don't have to respect him anymore. And I think it was a huge mistake. I went on Social Blade one day, and they were just losing followers. It seemed like every second, just losing followers. And it was just amazing, when I was looking at it, because I said to myself, it shows you the impact. It shows you that, people are listening to him, that this guy is affecting change. And Project Veritas, they screwed up. You're never going to find another guy like that. It's just almost like, could you imagine the Cleveland Cavaliers without a LeBron James? The people like that are hard to replace. And they really messed themselves up. And I think it was, the Pfizer thing. They don't want to come out and admit what it was, but once he did the Pfizer thing and exposed that, then all hell broke loose, and it was just like, well, we can't deal with this person anymore. And I think that was a huge, huge mistake, because Project Veritas. I mean, James O'Keefe made Project Veritas. They can say all they want, but people followed that Twitter account. People actually liked what they were doing when he was actually, when he was out there reporting the news and exposing stuff. I mean, you're not going to find someone who's, got the personality, somebody who's willing to be fearless like that again. I mean, I think he was a one of one, and you're looking at the results right now. They're losing a ton of Twitter followers, at least when I went to Social Blade. And it is what it is. But I hope that people look at him as an example. He changed conservative media. People can say what they want, but again, the power of just a podcast, the power of a video, of a tweet can literally change the world. Like, you can change the world. You don't have to be somebody with a blue check mark on Twitter to actually to get people's attention, to make things happen. So that's very encouraging. And if anything, we can learn a huge lesson from all this. And I think sometimes with conservatives, or even conservative media, you see these companies and these folks who come up and they're really trying to change stuff. They're really trying to, expose the truth. And sometimes the enemy can be within. I look at, and I'm not going to mention any names, but you have folks within the Republican Party who, are rhinos. Let's call it how it is. Because, the Republicans rely on some of these media organizations to, find different stories and to know what's going on. And, this guy should be getting support from everybody. This guy should be, again, you have folks like Mitch McConnell who, should be talking about folks like this and encouraging, people like him to go out there and actually, expose certain things. But again, I always say you had the rhinos are just as bad or worse than Democrats, because the rhinos sit back and they let things happen to good people. Or they'll sit back and say, well, you know what, we're for the American people, we're for rural workers, we're for the hardworking man and woman. And then when the rubber meets the road, they're nowhere to be found. I mean, look what's happening with, Trump. I'm not saying Trump is a perfect person, but you even have conservatives out there who are sitting up and, acting like Trump is a huge, bad guy, when, Trump brought a lot of new younger voters to the Republican Party. I mean, if it weren't for, people say what they want, but if it weren't for the MAGA movement, you wouldn't have some of these new voices on the scene. I mean, he's brought over blacks, he's brought over Asians, he's brought over every demographic you can think of. And it's sad to see, Republicans going after other Republicans. I mean, one thing I'll say about the Democrats, when the rubber meets the road, they'll get united. But right now, or at least they did, but right now it's just like, you're seeing this people pile on Trump. I mean, I expect it from CNN, I expect it from MSNBC, but you're getting it even on Fox News. Fox News is sitting back and they're putting out stories that are damaging. They're going after Trump more than they're going after some of these Democrats out here that are corrupt. And so, I wish that some of the news organizations or the conservative, politicians supported James O'Keefe even more, at least said something about what's going on and what went on with Project Veritas, and at least showed their support. But, it is what it is. Again, thank you for listening to my podcast. I know it might sound like I'm rambling a little bit. Sometimes I do that. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe. Please subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you're on Spotify, if you don't mind, or, please just follow me. I plan to come out with more podcasts. I'm still sort of new to the game, still finding my way. But again, if you're on YouTube and you hear this, please subscribe. If you're on Spotify, just, follow me. And I plan to put out more podcasts. And again, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thanks for, taking the time to hear what I have to say. And again, just be on the lookout for some more podcasts in the future. Thank you.